This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri expressed his disappointment with the reaction of the House majority to his initiative for resolving the Lebanese crisis, but he also confirmed his commitment to reaching an agreement on a new president for the Republic. The March 14th alliance had responded positively to the idea of agreeing on the presidential candidate without setting conditions. In other words, the majority would give up its right for a simple majority vote, and in return the resistance would give up its right to obstructing the elections by insisting on a two-third quorum. Aliyah Ibrahim reports from Beirut.
Lebanese people live their lives these days through the TV screen, waiting to know the fate of their country and its people. In absence of direct dialogue, TV has become the mode of communication between politicians, and after Samir Jaja and Walid Jumblat, it was Nabih Berri's turn. In a new TV interview, the House Speaker responded to the reaction of the March 14th alliance, expressing his dissatisfaction with what he considered a conditional approval, and said that he would continue his plan.
The initiative I submitted will continue. The method might change, but we will continue in our aim to realize its goal.
Berri's mention of the different scenarios that might result if reaching an agreement fails was described by some observers as an accurate reflection of the situation, while others considered it an exaggeration that is part of a negotiation strategy.
Nabih Berri's response last night to the March 14th alliance might outwardly seem to be an attempt to escalate tension, but the content of his speech does not suggest that he wants to burn the bridges of communication.
The different opinions about Berri's proposal are expected to multiply and intensify in the next 10 days, which lead up to the first legislative session to elect the new president on the 25th of September. Berri's response to the March 14th coalition might have been aimed at reassuring the Lebanese people and giving them hope, but it might also have stemmed from his knowledge that all proposals that are announced locally are not made public to foreign players. However, everyone agrees that although there may not be a readily available solution to the crisis in Lebanon, chaos cannot be allowed to reign supreme.
وفي بيروت يجري نائب وزير الخارجية الروسي ألكسندر سلطانوف.
Russian Foreign Minister Alexander Saltynov met with Lebanese officials in Beirut after his visit to Damascus. The talks focused on the Israeli violation of Syrian airspace, but also included the issue of Lebanon, providing the opportunity for Damascus to confirm its non-involvement in the impending Lebanese elections. Intisar Yunus reports from Damascus.
In spite of the calm appearance and general statements of Russian Foreign Minister Alexander Saltynov, his talks in Damascus seemed more sensitive, given the escalating tension after Israel's violation of Syrian airspace and Damascus's promise to respond.
Syria is not accustomed to tolerating violations of its land, but Syria is the one that chooses when and how to respond.
Russia, which is considered Syria's primary military supplier, warned against the danger of the situation. It asked for calm to be maintained for fear of explosive consequences occurring.
We are very interested in finding new opportunities for the Middle East to get out of this difficult situation.
Lebanon was also discussed in the meeting. Damascus told Saltynov about its non-involvement in the Lebanese presidential elections and its hope that the upcoming Lebanese president is president to all the Lebanese people. Saltynov's visit to Damascus represents the first direct involvement of Russia in the new crisis between Damascus and Tel Aviv. Efforts seem focused on 2 points: inhibiting the repercussions of the Israeli violation of Syrian airspace and showing Russian support to Damascus. Intisar Yunus, Dubai TV, Damascus.
أصيب 4 مواطنين من عائلة واحدة بجروح إثر تعرض.
4 citizens from a single family were wounded when their house in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza, was targeted by Israeli mortar shells. Witnesses said that the bomb fell on the house of Iyad Abul Qomsan, injuring him and 3 members of his family.
وفي مخيم جنين أصيب 7 مواطنين.
In Jenin, 7 people, including children, were injured and 1 resident was arrested during a new Israeli offensive on the camp. Security sources said that the occupation forces raided the camp from all directions and surrounded the home of resident Ammar Abu Ghalyoun in the Abu Ghalyoun neighborhood, which is close to the Jibriyat. The 7 people suffered moderate to mild injuries. The occupation forces and the Israeli police demolished more than 20 homes in the district of Anata in the eastern suburbs of Jerusalem. As the demolition of one home started, clashes erupted between the occupation forces and the residents, some of whom threw stones while others engaged in physical altercations with the soldiers in an attempt to stop them from demolishing their home.
None of this is new. It is a continuation of the Israeli occupation policy which has persisted for 60 years in oppressing Palestinians. The Israeli occupation army, with the support of private security, demolished 20 homes in the suburb of Anata in northeastern Jerusalem. The demolition process was interspersed with clashes between occupation forces and citizens who desperately attempted to stop their homes from being destroyed.
They have not and cannot crush our morale. They can destroy, but we will rebuild. We will persevere. We build with our own blood and sweat, while they build with foreign grants from Western nations. Thanks to God, may He give us the strength. We will remain steadfast on our land.
The homeowners had received notices to evacuate in the Anata town under several pretexts, including proximity to the wall or building without a permit.
Thursday evening, I was surprised with a 3-day notice to evacuate. Friday was the weekend, and the courts are closed Saturday, so we could not appeal. Then yesterday evening, they drove by and saw that this house was inhabited. They returned today at noon, when only women and children were present, and they encircled them. How humiliating. They brought bulldozers and machines and demolished the dwelling structures. They destroyed a farm over here with 200 heads of lamb, as well as 3 other buildings that were inhabited by people. People live in these makeshift structures because it is prohibited to build, and people cannot afford to build anyway, so they just make brick structures. They destroyed them all after putting the clothes outside, but they did not spare anything inside our structure. 2 to 3 young men tried to stop them and got arrested. They used tear gas, and we took 2 kids to Gabat Harim Hospital, and a woman lost consciousness. They continually humiliate us.
The policy of demolishing homes and confiscating land is an Israeli policy with the purpose of tightening the grip on Palestinians to empty Palestinian land of its people. The town of Anata becomes an isolated canton towards the fulfillment of the Judification of the Blessed City. The executive forces of the Palestinian Interior Ministry coordinated their efforts with the police to protect the security of citizens and the motherland. The Zionist occupation has been promoting drugs among Palestinians to spread immorality among them.
3 months after Gaza was cleansed, one can see calmness everywhere. Previously, security breakdowns and chaos dominated Gaza. But the situation is completely different now, since the Palestinian security agencies were cleansed and the police was reformed. The Palestinian police managed to win the confidence of its citizens. Probably the biggest success that they were able to achieve on the ground is to bring back the respect of citizens to the police. Previously, the police did not get the respect of the citizens due to the practices that were committed by its leaders. Anti-drug enforcement committees have managed to confiscate ecstasy, pills, hashish, poppy seeds, marijuana, alcohol, and counterfeit money used in selling and buying these drugs and other poisonous substances that the former security officials were promoting. The drug dealers were arrested and will be brought to justice. The Palestinian police work hard to enforce the law, serve justice, and establish security. They have managed to provide the opportunity to Gaza's residents to live in peace. Mohammed Al-Ashi, Al-Aqsa Satellite Channel from Arafat Police City in Gaza, Palestine.
It has been confirmed that Israeli planes did violate Syrian airspace. However, details of the targets hit by Israeli planes are still unclear, as both sides have refrained from making any comment.
The Israeli airstrike against targets in an area eastern of Syria is still generating controversy and speculation, especially after the Syrian decision to reduce the numbers of its troops deployed in the Golan Heights. According to the Syrian government, Israeli aircrafts flew over the Mediterranean Sea, but they could not complete their mission because they were confronted by anti-aircraft missile system from the ground, which forced them to drop their munitions quickly before leaving. The Israeli air raid may have been carried out with aid of Turkey's Airspace because 2 Israeli F-16 fuel tanks were found in southeastern Turkey. Syria accused Israel of coordinating the air attack with the United States, but said that it will not respond militarily. Syria also said that the Israeli planes dropped their ammunition because they were forced to escape. The Syrian government informed Western diplomats about the incident and filed a complaint to the United Nations. One theory says that the objective of the airstrike was to hit a cache of weapons that were brought from Iran before they reach Hezbollah in Lebanon. The strike can also be a warning to Syria to stop supporting Hezbollah. This comes as some American sources reported that the strike was intended to hit nuclear installations and that the Israeli planes were sent in a reconnaissance mission to take pictures of nuclear facilities. According to the Israelis, Damascus had purchased nuclear material and installations from North Korea. Another theory says that the planes were sent to test the possibility of carrying out a military strike against Iran, which for its part warned Israel not to carry out further strikes against Syria. The Israeli strikes could also have been an attempt to see whether Syria has acquired missiles from Russia recently. Israel may also want to regain some of the prestige which it lost in its latest war in Lebanon. This airstrike is not the first one. Last year, Israeli planes hovered over the Syrian presidential palace.
فهل ستكون الأخيرة؟ نجاح محمد علي، العربية.
ومن مدينة الناصرة ينضم إلينا المحلل السياسي السيد محمد. Political analyst Mohammed Drashie is joining us from Al Nasra. Welcome, Mr. Drashie. Israel first denied the news, then it confessed, but it has been silent despite the many news leaks in the Israeli media. Why has the Israeli government taken this position towards this mysterious air raid?
Yes, it is in the interest of Israel to keep the objectives of this air raid ambiguous. So far, Israel has not specified whether its aircrafts were sent on an air raid strike or in a reconnaissance operation, or whether it was aimed against Syria or Iran. So far, Israel has preferred to keep this operation's aims unclear, because this serves its interests.
How does this serve Israel?
First of all, Syria and Iran are left in a state of confusion. Israel and the U.S. are evaluating the results of this air raid. In effect, Israel is testing Syria and Iran. In addition, this air raid gives Israel's Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and the Minister of Defense Ehud Barak more prestige. They keep the Israeli public curious about the reasons behind the air raid. Of course, this gives Israel the image of a powerful state and its army the image of a bold and daring army. Therefore, the Israeli government and army are regaining some of their lost prestige.
Israeli checkpoints in the West Bank have stopped thousands of Muslim worshippers from reaching Jerusalem on the first Friday of Ramadan. They'd gathered hoping to pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but Israeli police refused to let them through. From the West Bank, John Cookson reports.
Lockdown in the West Bank. This was Kalandia, the main crossing from Ramallah to Jerusalem. Confusion over who would be admitted to the holy city to pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque left thousands of Palestinians frustrated at being unable to cross.
I traveled from Kalkilia in the West Bank to attend Friday prayers. I feel very bad. The Israelis don't want peace. All I want to do is pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
The Israelis are only allowing people over 50 years old to cross. Whatever our age, we should be able to enter Jerusalem and pray. Stopping us from doing that is breaking all conventions.
I feel very frustrated. If God keeps me alive until I'm 50, I'll be able to pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is crazy.
For many years now, Israel has imposed restrictions on the number of people reaching the mosque, claiming it wants to prevent possible riots which could break out after prayers. An Israeli army chief has been telling Al Jazeera that 15,000 Palestinians crossed today from the West Bank into Jerusalem, and that restrictions like this will continue throughout Ramadan. But there was no way of independently verifying his figures and no way of telling how many people actually arrived here at the mosque complex in the heart of Old Jerusalem. Muslims especially want to come here on Fridays during Ramadan, which started on Thursday and continues for 30 days. Thousands did make it here today, but many more were left staring at a barrier. John Cookson, Al Jazeera, Jerusalem.
In our top story, scuffles between IDF troops and Palestinians broke out at the two major West Bank checkpoints on the outskirts of Jerusalem. This as hundreds of Muslim faithful attempted to reach the Al-Aqsa Mosque for prayers on the first Friday of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. IBA's Aaron Viner has the story.
This year, the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan coincided with the Rosh Hashanah Jewish New Year and Israel's customary closure on the West Bank to keep the peace during the holiday season. Virtually all Palestinians have been barred from entering Israel, but that didn't stop hundreds from gathering at the northern Kalandia checkpoint outside Ramallah or from the Rachel barrier near the biblical town of Bethlehem in the attempt to reach the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem. Clashes erupted at the checkpoints as crowds attempted to push their way through or remove barricades, and many fell or tripped in the chaos. Israeli soldiers did their best to control the worshippers, and there were no injuries reported. Muslim prayer is perceived by the faithful as more powerful if performed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City. To prevent potential terror attacks during Ramadan, Israeli security officials today only permitted men above the age of 45 and women above the age of 35 to enter Islam's third holiest shrine. There were no major disturbances reported in the capital. This is Aaron Viner for IBA News.
An Israeli man and woman were lightly wounded near the settlement of Karnei Shomron in the northern West Bank. They were apparently injured during a drive-by shooting by Palestinians. IDF forces are sweeping the area. And in Gaza, terrorists fired 9 mortars today, which landed by the security fence surrounding central Gaza. There were no injuries or damage caused. Syria's Deputy Foreign Minister Faisal Mekdad said that Damascus is not planning to retaliate militarily to the alleged Israeli flyover of Syrian territory. Mekdad made the comments following a meeting with his Russian counterpart. However, he did warn that growing tension could spark a violent outbreak in the region and that Syria has the means to react to the provocation. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice was asked about reports that Syria is building a nuclear installation. Rice responded that she is worried about the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The Secretary of State, who is coming to the region later this week, said that the world must prevent the most dangerous people in the world from obtaining the most dangerous weapons in the world. She added that the U.S. is involved in this effort on a daily basis. Rice, however, did not relate specifically to the Israeli flyover of Syrian territory earlier this week. Iran's spiritual leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, said he believes the day will come when U.S. President George W. Bush will be put on trial for the atrocities that are taking place in Iraq. Meanwhile, Khamenei, who is also in charge of Iran's state-run television, may have a different side. He has sanctioned a new soap opera that has most of the country glued to their TV sets. But the subject is not what you'd expect. It tells the story of an Iranian diplomat who saved Jews during the Holocaust and is actually a love story between a Shiite Muslim and a Jew. IBA's Jonathan Elkins brings us the story.
In Iran, a TV series about the Holocaust has become a huge hit. It's called 0 Degree Turn. It's surprising, considering Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad says the Holocaust never happened. Naturally, some people are wondering how such a TV show could become so popular in a country that has hosted several Holocaust denial conferences. The show is a far cry from the usual Iranian programming, like the one seen here. 0 Degree Turn received the approval of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who is not only responsible for Iran's nuclear program and the country's severe dress code, he is also in charge of Iran's state-run television. Some believe that the new show is Khamenei's way of sending a message to the world and to Iran's 25,000 Jewish citizens. Ignore Ahmadinejad's Holocaust denial.
President Ahmadinejad may be the president of Iran, but he's certainly not a dictator, and he's certainly not the most powerful individual within Iran. This is one way for Ayatollah Khamenei to send a subtle signal to the rest of the world and to Iran's own Jewish community that despite the rantings of President Ahmadinejad, you should feel secure here.
And how did Ahmadinejad react to the show? Iranian sources say it is not at odds with the president's message. Ahmadinejad does not dislike Jews, just Israel.
Sheikh Abdul Sattar Abu Risha was killed this week. What does this mean for his ally, President Bush? How will this impact U.S. strategy in Iraq? And what does it tell us about security in the country? The answer to these questions and more on Link TV's Mosaic Intelligence Report.
When Sheikh Abdul Sattar Abu Risha was killed only hours before President Bush delivered his speech to the nation Thursday evening, some called it divine providence, others called it Allah's bidding. President Bush, your Sheikh is dead, a commentator wrote in the Arab language blogosphere, where reactions and editorials escape Arab government censorship.
I am real. I'm not a ghost. And to the terrorists I say that I will be in Anbar in 5 days. And if they want to see me, I am ready for them.
Sheikh Abdul Sattar Abu Risha was killed by a roadside bomb planted near his home in Ramadi, the capital of Al-Anbar province, which General Petraeus had described as pacified. Abu Risha was the leader of the Anbar Salvation Council, renamed Anbar Awakening, an alliance of about 200 Sunni sheikhs drawn mostly from the Dulaimi tribe and dozens of sub-clans who were fighting against Al-Qaeda in the land of the two rivers. While the US media focused on Bush's speech, the surge, and prospects of bringing the troops home, the assassination of Abu Risha was the subject of debate on most Arab satellite channels, where several commentators reiterated how Bush's speech would have been different if the assassination had not occurred. Some even went on to say that Bush's success story, planned to air at the start of the holy month of Ramadan, was killed by the killing of Abu Risha.
One of the brave tribal sheikhs who helped lead the revolt against al-Qaeda was murdered. In response, a fellow Sunni leader declared, "We are determined to strike back and continue our work." And as they do, they can count on the continued support of the United States.
Was this a case of Al-Qaeda saying, "Don't mess with us"? Consider the chain of events of the past few days. Bush visits Al-Assad military airbase in Anbar to show that his surge is working. He personally meets Abu Risha. Osama bin Laden releases his first video in almost 3 years, providing he's alive and kicking. Petraeus and U.S. Ambassador in Iraq, Ryan Crocker, make their presentation to Congress, assuring the U.S. and the world that the surge is a success. Bin Laden releases his second tape in 4 days, praising one of the September 11, 2001 martyrs. Bush plans to announce to the nation what Petraeus is recommending to Congress. Not a drawdown, but the actual extension of the surge until next summer. Abu Risha, the man Petraeus relied on as evidence of the surge's success, is killed in Al-Anbar. Could other groups have killed the Sheikh? Certainly. Although no Iraqi guerrilla or jihadist group claimed responsibility, Abu Risha may have been killed by one of the top Sunni Iraqi nationalist guerrilla groups for whom ending the occupation remains a top priority. But regardless of who killed the Sheikh, two things are certain. Currently, there are no secure areas in Iraq, and secondly, alliances made in Iraq are as unstable as the shifting sands of the Arabian desert. I'm Jamal Dajani for the Mosaic Intelligence Report. To learn more about this program or to share your thoughts, visit us at linktv.org/mosaic.
Hi, I'm Wendy Hanamura, the station manager here at Link TV, and I'm here to talk to you about something very important. Keeping this show that you're watching, Mosaic, on the air. Now, Mosaic has always enjoyed foundation support, but that foundation support is now over, and we need to raise $200,000 in the next few months to keep this vital program on the air through 2007. So please do your part right now. Go online to linktv.org or give us a call at 1-866-485-8848. That's 1-866-485-8848. Give as generously as you can, please. Why? Because information is power. Information is the lifeblood of a democracy. You know, it's kind of staggering to think that we are now entering the 5th year of this war in Iraq. We've been in Iraq longer than we fought World War II. Mosaic is a window. It's a window into what's happening on the ground in the Middle East. It's a window you wouldn't have if it wasn't on Link TV. I believe that we need Mosaic. If every person in this country watched Mosaic every day, including those people in the White House, how would we make our decisions? How would it alter our destiny? It's an important question. And at a time when the military filters so much of the information about the war, when the corporate media controls so much of what you see, hear, and read, independent media has never been more important. Independent, nonprofit Mosaic has never been more important. So please, do whatever you can, give as much as you can. Consider this, a $400 donation right now pays for one broadcast of this vital program. Information is power, and now you have the power to keep this program on the air. Thank you.
Mosaic needs your support. Help us reach our goal to raise $200,000 by the end of the year to keep Mosaic on the air. Pledge your gift today at 1-866-485-8848 or linktv.org. Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.